Catholic Bishops' Conference in a very strongly worded statement questioning government's urgency in dealing with it. We've heard from government, again, we heard from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister indicating that, well, the approach will be to declare water bodies as security zones, basically no-go areas there. And subsequently we are now finding out that as far back as the 17th of September, the President, through the Secretary, had actually written to some of these groups that had been speaking on various matters, inviting them to come for an engagement on Friday, that is this Friday, the 3rd of October, 2025. And the letter from the President explains that they intend to have a conversation to harness ideas to find out ways of dealing with this particular challenge. And a long list of various groups. I saw Imani in there, I saw ASEPA. I mean, that's the letter from the presidency that is on the screen now. And let me just walk you through that particular statement, what exactly it said there. So the statement here indicates that on instructions of His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, I am pleased to invite you to participate in a civil society organization's engagement on illegal mining. The engagement is scheduled as follows: Friday, 3rd October 2025, 12 noon, Jubilee House, Accra. This engagement aims to provide a platform for frank and constructive dialogue between the government and civil society on the menace of illegal mining with a view to harnessing collective expertise, perspectives, and solutions to address the national challenge. And it goes ahead to identify the various groups that have been called upon to participate in this engagement. It's a statement that has come from Eco-Conscious. I'll bring you that shortly, but before then, let me introduce you to my guest in the studio. I'm sure you know that Dr. Koba will be in there somewhere. You know that Dr. Ramsey Nusa will also be in there somewhere. It's Beatrice, that's the new one joining us on this set this morning. Beatrice Annan is a presidential staffer, a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Akabli. I'm happy to be here.
The usual Tuesday team, Dr. Josiah Koba, a legal practitioner, a former principal lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, a native of Commander. Always greeting the full of Commander. Doc, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Ramsey Inusa, the landlord, Doctor. Hey, there's a qualifier to come from you. I'm sorry. different landlord. Dr. Ramsey Inusa is Director of Political Research for the Movement for Change. Doc, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
As always.
Good morning, Joseph.
Yes. So there's this statement that we just drew our attention to from Eco-Conscious Citizens media release. They are saying that their final message to social and traditional media before we disengage from media engagement for a week of mourning. Over the recent years, Erastus Asaridonko has produced documentaries exposing irresponsible illegal mining and its devastating impact on health and the environment. Yet citizens' awareness of and response to this ongoing ecocide remains minimal. The recent Ghana Water announcement of a potential 281% hike blamed on excessive turbidity caused by illegal mining briefly stirred concerns, largely financial and not environmental or health related. News of water plants closely attracted relative little reaction among city dwellers, although plans that will hit their pockets had them realizing just for a hot minute that what happens in the hinterlands has a direct impact on them. And it goes on to say that last week, 2 state agencies reported high mercury and other toxic metals in kontomire and other staple foods. Despite commendable media coverage, public response was fairly muted. For years, our executive director, Awola Sewa, and others have warned of the existential threat due to our poisoned water bodies and farmlands. These studies only confirmed the crisis, yet citizens rarely reacted to evidence that their daily foods carry life-threatening toxins. Where was the uproar of a people concerned about their very existence due to the prevalence of contaminated foods and other products on the market? This reflects a troubling complacency. Few act to change things, as seen in the poor turnout at this month's Democracy Hub, Stop Galamsey Now Vigil and March. Some citizens refuse to join such activities. And so they go on to talk about noise pollution, the general impact, and they say that eco-conscious citizens continues its advocacy, but change will remain limited without firm action from above. Government still resist declaring a state of emergency against the environmental terrorists poisoning our water, farmlands, and forest reserves. Security zones have now been declared. Whatever the terminology, what matters is that the security forces must be properly resourced and armed with proper intelligence in order to properly secure our water bodies. And so they are with the evidence of sustained processes from NIMOS in protecting environment in these security zones there. And so the group, that's what they've been saying. They'll be, they'll be participating in the engagement that will be taking place with the presidency to try and find a way around this. And I want to start with Doc across me. And I'm starting with you, Doc, because last week I remember one of the questions I had asked you was about whether the government, in terms of how it was dealing with the Galamsey fight, whether the government was carrying the people along. I mean, this engagement that the president intends to have with these groups definitely achieves that. But one would ask the question, from January till September, is it coming too late or better late than ever, as some would say?
Yeah. Good morning again to you and everyone else out there. Just if you remember last week, I said that I firmly believe that this government is a listening government, and that my recommendation and other people's recommendation that there should be a summit of sort to discuss this. You know, I wasn't surprised at all when I read yesterday that the CSOs have been asked to come for consultation and frank discussions on this problem. Joseph, you know, this is a multidisciplinary problem, this Galamsey. It is not simply a law enforcement issue. And oftentimes when you listen to discussions, people behave as if it's simply a matter of taking forces, military or police into the forest and water bodies and onto the water bodies and driving people away. It is multidisciplinary. You're talking about livelihoods. You're talking about reclamation of forests and water bodies. So we have scientists have to be working with labor people, with land tenure issues involving traditional rulers. So it is something that needs to be approached carefully, through deliberate planning. And I think that perhaps in our, given the situation last year and the way things were going, a lot of us felt, it's time for a state of emergency. I think that some of us didn't really think about what that entails. I hope that the meeting that is coming on, is it tomorrow? I'm not sure.
Friday.
On Friday, would afford the opportunity for, first of all, for most of us to have input, and then we'll come out united behind the government to really deal with this existential problem that is confronting the nation. It is perhaps now, apart from the economy generally, perhaps the biggest issue, biggest problem confronting our government. I believe that the government is up to it. I was very impressed, I said last week, that on how they approached the botched SHS, free SHS matter. I say botched because my children were in it, and I saw what happened. The first thing the president did was to talk to all of us, to have all of us give input. And based on that, I believe that changes are being made. I think the same thing would happen with regards to Galamsey. If we give the government the chance to judge with the CSOs and and bring on board the things that we could do to change our fortunes. I was pretty happy about the security zones idea. Yes, but we need more than that, because you see, whatever we do, we're going to throw a lot of young people, out of employment, quote unquote. That is how they feed themselves and their families. And so we need to be careful about how we go about it, and to make sure that we don't, in solving this problem, create other problems, So I'm very happy about Friday's gathering, and we hope that out of it will come that all of us, the Catholic bishops, the think tanks, all of us will come out with one mind on the approach that we should take to resolve what is a very serious problem that confronts us.
Is it fair for us to ask at this stage that we'll need a comprehensive policy document that potentially explains what government is doing? And an example is the security zone that you make reference to. I mean, it's something that one cannot, top of the head, understand what exactly is happening. I say so because we know what security zones are. They are basically no-go areas. If you say a water body is a security zone, does that mean that the woman who lives in that area, who fetches that water, can no longer go there? I mean, those are all matters that we need.
Already, Joseph, there are things happening. DVLA and excavators. There are various things that are taking place. I think that one of the things that should come out of the meeting on Friday is a comprehensive, document or statement of how we are going to deal with this, this multifaceted issue. Yes, I agree with you that probably there is a need for a document or a comprehensive plan that tells us that we are starting here and this will be the end point,
Okay.
So I'm hoping that Friday the government will not only listen, but also educate us on their thinking so far among the experts on how best to deal with this problem.
Let me come to Beatrice now, and you are the presidency, so maybe you can provide some answers to us there. I mean, what's the idea? Maybe let me start off first. What's the idea behind this engagement? And I think it's an important point I put out, that the letter was written as far back as the 17th. So not to create the impression that potentially it's the conversations that have come up, that is how come it's taking place. It was written on the 17th. Yeah, you can start off. What was informing this?
So, good morning to our viewers. As usual, I'm happy to be here this morning. I think what we in government have been consistently saying is that President Mahama and this government, we should believe, are committed to the fight against Galamsey. Like my senior said, it's a multifaceted issue, and we don't expect a one-size-fits approach to it. And so government has a plan. Government would pilot some of the plans, implement them, listen to feedback, and then review the plans. Because as you implement some of the plans, the people or the perpetrators also become sophisticated. They identify some loopholes, they change strategy, and therefore there is a need for government to change strategy. And I'm happy that we are having to have this discussion at a time when the letter was written as far back as 17th, before the president left the United Nations. And so you can tell that there is a system in place. If you read the letter, it tells you that we want to listen to everybody, not just those who come on TV and prefer some very good solutions, but we want to listen to civil society, specifically those who are engaged or the advocacy is in Galamsey. We want to hear what you have to say about health. We want to listen to your constructive criticism on some of the steps governments have taken, and you think that it should either be reconsidered or something should be done about it, or new perspective altogether. And as we have, or the position of this government is that no one is a repository of knowledge. And so it's important that in formulating policies, and here review doesn't mean cancel for this government. And so in formulating policies, along the line, you review it. First of all, it's important to say that this is a government that when we assume office in our quest to solve the issue of Galamsey, over 440 excavators have been seized. None of them have gone missing. None have been bent. None has also found its way into into the hands of party apparatchiks. We've arrested over 1,400 people. We know and we hear when people say that don't just arrest the people who are engaged in the Galamsey at the very lowest level. Look for the kingpins. And I can tell you that there are intelligence and surveillance to get some of the kingpins, at least to serve as a scapegoat for many others. So the government is committed. Some fines have been confiscated. Water palms, which were confiscated, have been given to farmers and all that. Excavators are being tracked. I can also tell you that recently about 21 areas have been declared as security zones. And that's what has been in the news for this week. And I'm sure that's why we are having to have this discussion. And those 21 areas, I am told that they don't want to pull the specific areas so that the perpetrators don't get sophisticated and then find other means. But you can be rest assured that 21 areas have been declared as security zone. Then you have this engagement with the civil society. As we speak, concurrently, the responsible mining cooperative scheme also are in the communities, engaging the people and asking, how can we solve this? What you have today is a marked departure from what you had in the past. In the past, government even denied the existence of certain facts. And government sought to say that, oh, we cannot be blamed, or we are doing everything we can. This is a different posturing in the NDC government, that we want to hear you come and talk to us. We are doing these. We think we want to listen to your perspective. And I think that that is a call in the right direction. And if you have any means and you have not been invited, you're an individual, you have your views, the presidency email is available. I think that I have the benefit of seeing most of the emails that come through, and we respond. Sometimes people even send feedback and say, I never thought in my life I would receive a letter from the presidency or a reply from the presidency if I sent a request via email. So as much as it depends on President Mahama, we are trying to run a certain transparent government. We are trying to set new standards. We are trying to include the citizens more in solving these issues. And I think that I want the Ghanaian people to keep faith with the government. I want the Ghanaian people to trust the process. I want the Ghanaian people to know that this government does not claim perfection. What we claim is the ability to listen to citizens, is the ability to say that, keep faith with us. We value your feedback, and gradually I can tell you that we will be successful in this illegal mining.
From where government sits, does government believe that it is winning the fight against illegal mining?
I think it's not a matter of whether government is winning or losing the fight. Then the question would be that what are the parameters or the KPIs? I think what we want to see is that our waters are returning to its original state. We want to see that people are engaged in responsible mining scheme. We want to see that there are no distractions to the environment. And I think our government is not a government that would say that we are winning the fight or we've won the fight, because we've been there before when Major Mahama lost his life, and the government felt that by taking Operation Vanguard, it was winning the fight, only for them to face various challenges like their party people being directly involved, people in Jubilee being directly involved. So for me, if you're asking for where I sit, we want to win the fight ultimately. But I think that at this stage, it's too early for government to say that we are winning the fight. It's too early for government to say that we are patting ourselves in the back. I think the communication line has been that we are doing something. We recognize it will take time, but you keep faith with us. Trust the process. And in all these, we are also open to listening to you. Then we can collectively win the fight. Because you see, there is a social, there is an economic, there is a health aspect. So when you win maybe the economic fight, you may be losing the social or you may be losing the health. So it's a bit more nuanced for you to just sit here and say that 9 months into power, we think that we are winning the fight. That in itself defeats the psychology behind it. Then everybody thinks that there is no room for improvement. Because even after you've won the fight ultimately and all your water bodies have returned, your ability to sustain it is also another fight that you have to start. So for me, I think that it's not a matter of if I do this today, what will I do tomorrow? It's a matter of trying to use very sustainable ways of making sure that together we don't get to be in the worst state than we came to meet. And ultimately, even get to a better stage, if you ask me.
Your critics make the point that we all know how complex this is. We've all known that for a while. But then your party in opposition, we had key elements basically suggest that, well, I've seen tweets, people saying that you can end it in 1 week. People saying that, well, the buck stops with the president. Key individuals who are today in government. And they say that the complexity has always been there, but you promised a lot. And 8 months down the line, when they read from Dr. Callistus Mahama say that they want to harness collective expertise, perspectives, and solutions, they say that if we're heading in the right direction, how are we harnessing at this point in time?
First of all, I agree when we say that the buck stops with the president. I think, and that's the beautiful thing about the president I work for. He takes responsibility. Over the years, you've heard him make statements like, I will fix Dumso. He didn't have to say that I'm not an electrician, as we've heard others say that they are not responsible. So President Mahama takes ultimate responsibility, and he will not run away from the principle of ultimate responsibility. But then again, I think that it is unfair for those who caused damage to the environment for 8 years to then expect that by some magical means, President
when
Mahama
you say
should
those who, you're referring to the NPP, you mean?
Yes, if the critics are NPP,
Yeah,
then I'm
those who are
referring to
destroying
them.
the environment, they cut across NPP and DC, and all of us
Yes,
are
so
bearing
that's what I'm
the
saying,
brunt
that
of it.
it is unfair for those who could not solve an issue for 8 years to say that we expect you to solve it in 9 months. And I think they should know better that if we cannot solve it in 8 years, then maybe we should give the new government some time. But most importantly, Akable, we need to make a distinction between the posturing of the critics and the government. If you have a government that says that I have an issue and I want to listen to the people who are affected by it, to bring perspective. I can tell you that in the discussion, some people may not even see the cultural reasons. I used to work with an NGO, and when I went into a certain community on a certain advocacy, I was so shocked by the perspective. I could not in my life contemplate the perspective that these community people have. So when you have a government that says that, I want to bring people's perspective on board, I want to listen to you, it doesn't mean the government has failed. And it is that posturing that led to the NPP failing in the fight against Galamsey. Because when excavators go missing and you, due their attention, they will tell you, government knows what it's doing. We don't need your perspective. When you tell them that the people involved, some of them are your party people, so there is a need for you to reconsider. They will say, oh, bring evidence. If you have evidence. In fact, even when Professor Frimpong Boateng, their own minister told them that the ministry where I supervise, I'm saying that party people, and mention names, the professor was practically victimized. That is not the posturing of this government. This government, when your name is even mentioned without basis, President Mahama says that Iyoko investigate. It shows a certain level of commitment. And for me, I think that that is the goodwill that we expect citizens to have, and the faith we expect citizens to have in this government, that we are doing the right things. Along the line, like as I've indicated, we do not seek perfection. And so when a policy fails, when a certain strategy fails, we are happy to review it. We are happy to say that maybe we didn't contemplate certain things. And so we are going back to the drawing board and come back stronger, which is done everywhere. So that is a very instructive portion. And I will want to call on all the Ghanaian people to support the president, to actually understand the process so that together we can win this fight. And let politics not divide us. And I've heard people say that, oh, you know, in the past, the NDC used to say that it was the NPP. Yes, we said that, because it was unconscionable for a regional chairman like Chairman Wuntumi to have a Kunta mining where even their own government said that they were engaged in illegality. It was unconscionable for the women's organizer of the NPP to be engaged in Galamsey. And then when we raised the issue, you say, oh, don't make it partisan. How else were we supposed to make it? It was unconscionable for people in Jubilee to be engaged in Galamsey. And then anytime we raised the issue, you say, oh, don't make it partisan. How else were we supposed to talk about it when party people, they were not like maybe ordinary party members. They were party executives who used to make decisions at the highest level. And so it's not the same. You have not seen an NDC party chairman with a mining lease or a regional chairman. At best, what you've heard is allegation. Even that one, President Mahama says investigate. So these two political parties have shown that we have very different approaches to solving the menace. And I think the NDC's approach is a better one. And I want citizens to, keep faith with us.
Before I come to Doc, a final point, and if you keep out to the NPP, if you look at the groups that work within this space, their story has been the same. They say that they are not impressed. They said that in December against the previous government. They say that again this year. The Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, one of the groups, their statement very strongly worded. They say that in the face of this, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, appears not to grasp the existential scale of the menace. In both January and May 2025, delegations of our conference raised concerns directly with him, only to be met with unsatisfactory responses focused narrowly on economic gain. Then they proceed to talk about then meet the press. That is an independent verdict. And whenever I read this statement, I always tell people that you can take their previous statements, the Ghana Catholic Bishop Conference, their previous ones. They had virtually said the same thing about the previous government and the previous ones. And so...
I agree with the Ghana Catholic bishops. And they have been a very consistent group. They spoke in the past, and they have every moral right to speak today. I'm one person who believes, and I'm sure President Mahama believes, that we don't measure by efforts. So we measure by results. And so when you start a process, they are telling you and they are giving us a feedback that we haven't seen our water bodies return to normal. We think that we haven't seen what we want to see. And so for us, this is a useful feedback. And they have also been invited to the Friday engagement. We'll listen to their perspective. And for me, I think
that's what... They said they've met you twice. They've told you what they have to say.
They met, I remember that in government, maybe I think they've met us once. But even if they have met...
The statement says in both January and May 2025.
So even if they have met us twice, continuous engagement in policy formulation and policy implementation is something we should welcome. Because as I indicated, you introduce a policy, and in the course of implementation, the perpetrators will then find the loopholes in the new policy and change strategy. So it's important to continue engaging them. And the Friday events will not be a one-off event. I can assure the CSOs that after the Friday event, after the key takeaways, when policies are formulated, we'll come back again to the challenges and we'll keep engaging. We'll keep engaging till we get to where we want to be, and then Ghanaians will say that kudos to the NDC, kudos to the government. So we hear all the groups and we say that these concerns are justified. And let me say that, for instance, someone like Erastus Asari Donko, who has been one of the most consistent journalists in this, he reports what he spots as something bad, and by the next hour or by the next day, he's probably reporting on the updates. Like when I reported this, I think NIMOS came here. When I reported this, I think the military. And for us, that is how we build consensus. That is how we understand building a nation. We haven't taken an entrenched position. In the past, the Catholic bishop statement would have been poo-pooed. You would have been told that, I mean, they are pastors. You have been told that they don't understand. I remember people saying that if you want to fight Galamsey, don't stay in Accra. Go to the sites and demonstrate. I mean, nobody in government has been very condescending to the people demonstrating. I think in very recent time, Fix the Country demonstrated and governments acknowledged the feedback. So it's a good posturing.
Okay.
And Akabli, let's not downplay such a posturing in government, that you have a government that is listening, that you have a government that says that we hear you, that we have a government that says that you're free to bring your perspectives and criticism. We hear you and we'll act on it.
Right.
I think for me, these are very good signs for our nation, if you ask me.
Okay. Let me come to Doc now. And Doc, last week you had argued strongly that you want tough actions. The presidency, the secretary to the president says that, well, we need to bring people on board and hear their views on what we are doing. In the right direction, you would say?
Just let me say a very good morning to your good self, and a very good morning to Dr. Josiah and Beatrice, and the good people of Ghana. Indeed, Joseph, the fight against Galamsey today is a question whether we want to really have water for all or champagne for a few. It is a question that the people of Ghana are asking. And they are asking these pertinent questions at the doorstep of power. And so the issues of collective knowledge gathering from CSOs is a right step. And I said it's commendable. But indeed, Joseph, how long have we grown as a country? How long have we known Galamsey? Let's look at the age of this Fourth Republic. And I said this last week, that Galamsey is poverty in disguise. That if you look at the rural areas in Ghana, the poverty incidence in the rural areas is 80%. Joseph, and look at how old our Fourth Republic is. Since 1992 to date. A resource-rich country like Ghana, which is estimated to be $12 trillion, is still grappling with fundamental issues. So it's not a matter of 8 years, who has done wrong. We know those that have done wrong in the previous 8 years. You understand? And we know those that will do right if given the chance and supported. That is why we believe that the people of Ghana gave the NDC a 2/3 majority in parliament. By now, what I should have seen was that there would have been an amendment of the Minerals and Mining Act 703, and that the mining in forest reserves is totally banned. Number two, mining on our water bodies is totally banned. What I would have wished to see is that artisanal mining and small-scale mining would have been banned for 1 year. So that within this 1 year period, we can engage CSOs, we can engage a collaborative organization created by the presidency, which would have the EPA, the Gold Board, the Water Resource Commission, the Minerals Commission, that would conduct a forensic audit to all small-scale mining holders for the past 15 years. And indeed, we should revoke all licenses of small-scale miners. for the past 15 years. When that is done and an audit is done, we'll be able to know those that indeed were mining responsibly, those that were not also mining responsibly. And then we can be able to issue new licenses in consultation with the traditional authorities. Because, Joseph, this fight against Galamsey, if we do not involve our traditional authorities, we are not going to win this fight against Galamsey. And that is why, if you look at the Great Transformational Plan of Movement for Change, we have advocated for the amendment of Article 2576 of the 1992 Constitution to make our traditional authorities co-trustees of our mineral resources. And let me commend this current government. Indeed, I think that this is a short-term intervention by tracking excavators, right? And then having a new licensure regime for excavators. I think that is a good step. But how well this policy would be able to inure into a positive outcome, I believe that time will tell.
On the point about the auditing, it was done as far back as July. In fact, we were told at the time that around 962 small-scale mining licenses had been flagged for irregularities. They had been given 2 weeks to remediate or have it revoked. So that has been done.
Joseph.
You also talk about mining in water bodies. I mean, we know that there's no lease that will entitle you to go and mine in a water body. Again, the bit about the ban on small-scale mining, the critics will point you to what the previous regime did. There was a ban. We saw a bit of improvement. When the ban was lifted, things went back to
Joseph,
there's a very level it was previously.
Joseph, in regards to the audit, we have not seen proper auditing done. Let's be honest with ourselves. Unless maybe we want to tickle ourselves this morning and laugh and walk away. We are calling for serious auditing. And I did mention that it needs a collective, multifaceted approach involving different various institutions in this regards, as including the Gold Board, right? If we are able to audit, I am telling you that most of the mineral licenses, mining licenses that were issued, over 2,000 under the previous administration, I'm sure 90% would have been revoked by now. But that is not the case. And so we need serious, auditing. And you talked about efforts of the previous government. Joseph, where there is a will, there's always a way. If there is no political will to mitigate the anthropogenic activities of illegal mining, where even those that are supposed to fight it are also complicit in that act, how then do you fight it? How then do you fight it, Joseph? And so we need a political will.
Do you see a political will currently?
I think that it's too early. I have said time and time again that the menace of Galamsey should not be politicized. That is why God, in His infinite wisdom, created water as a colorless substance, right? Water cannot be NPP, water cannot be NDC, water cannot be the movement for change. Indeed, Joseph, I might even contradict myself, because if I look at the color of the water today, it's closer to yellow, and I can even claim that we, the movement for change, should even beat our chest and even take that fight on. But no. But I dare say that we should not politicize Galamsey. Right. Now, we talk about interventions in our rural areas. If you hoard these areas as security zones, right, to mitigate the risk and all that, again, we need to tackle the root cause of Galamsey. If you have a poverty incidence rate of 80% in your rural areas, then it's a problem. Dogs community, Commander, has very, very rich arable lands, and I think it is one of the contributing places to, export of pineapple into the European market. Joseph, very recently in the past, I've heard, even in the past, previous administration, the NDC-1 administration, a sugar factory was set, and unfortunately, it's still lying there rotten. But I believe that if we are able to take policies, egalitarian policies nationwide, to tackle all these rural folks, right, and support them with some form of startup capital and then some form of skill training. Because we need an industrial force, Joseph. But without the requisite skill, you cannot drive productivity in your economy. And that is why we are calling on this government to expedite the expansion of the TVET process, the TVET education, so that our rural folks will be equipped with skills that can enhance economic productivity. The central bank on its own would have to do much to reduce the cost of borrowing in this country. The monetary policy rate is very, very high. And that is why I'm saying that it is not feasible for farmers to go and borrow at a double-digit interest rate and then conduct commercial farming. Do we even have commercial farmers in this country in the first place? That is why if you look at the wisdom of the Great Transformational Plan, we have proposed that the 5 northern regions become the breadbasket of the whole West Africa, right? If the previous government had built the Poalugu multipurpose irrigational dam, I am sure it would have been able to solve the effect of climate change within the 5 northern regions that is affecting the crop yield of farmers.
Okay.
And so, Joseph, we need to tackle this fight head on.
Okay.
We should not politicize this. I believe that the next meeting I want to see from the presidency is a political meeting dealing with all the political actors in this country. And then there should be a form of bond signed by all political parties, right, to commit their strength to fighting the menace of Galamsey. Today, you look at these communities that are bedeviled with illegal mining. The hospitals are recording a lot of renal cases and congenital birth defects. Today, Joseph, the average cost for renal treatment and end-stage renal treatment is about $200,000, right? And you know that with renal end-stage renal treatment, there are 2 ways. It's either you do a renal dialysis or you do a renal transplant. Now, if you look at the current population of youth engaged in Galamsey, we have 1.1 million people engaged in Galamsey. So if you multiply $200,000 by 1.1 million, you have a total public health cost of $220 billion. So indeed, it is not even reasonable to even indulge in illegal mining. It is not even reasonable to indulge in such menace if your life is at stake. And that is why we are calling on the government to ensure that the 1% COVID-19 levy stays. Because if we are recording huge public health situation in these areas, and today food security is also a problem, Joseph, we are recording a lot of toxic substances in our food. My dear contombre has been polluted. My dear cassava has been polluted. And tomorrow, God knows what will be polluted next. Okay. And so we hope that all these recommendations that we have done, we need to tackle it from the political aspect. The political debate would have to start, and the collective responsibility of all political actors should be brought on the table so that we can be able to fight the menace. Okay. If we are able to, win, Ghana wins, not NPP, not NDC. So we should stop politicizing Galamsey. Okay.
Let's do some messages. Okay. Some of the messages are interesting. You guys should calm down. This one from Musa Batwa in Asawasi. You say that the NPP should commend President Mahama for his commitment to fight Galamsey, which has never happened before. At least not a single government official caught red-handed accounting Galamsey money. NPP should stop their vuvuzela noise and allow JM to deal with the existential threats. And you send your regards to Chief of Staff Julius Debra. Hey, Musa Batwa. Okay, I've referred you. A number of you have also sent your messages on Facebook. I'll come to some of those messages. But let's wrap up on this. And early on during the calling segment, we made reference to some of the findings, which Doc also made reference to. The EPA. The EPA did this study with 2 international partners and the medium. So if you pick soil from all areas, so Konongo Zongo, Konongo Odumase, Pristia, Dakupe in Savannah, and the remarks are severe contamination, elevated levels indicating potential health risk. In terms of the water, 10 times above limit poses risk to water bodies and aquatic ecosystems. And the air also is not spared. We are told that due to smelting activities, the air is heavily polluted. Food crops, contaminated tomatoes, they decided not to even mention the locations for obvious reasons. Again, there's also a challenge with those ones as well. And so that is it by way of the reports that they put out there. And Doc, let me wrap up with you in maybe a minute or two. Ahead of Friday's engagement, what should all the parties, what's the common understanding that they should go into that meeting with and seek to take away from it?
Well, I think that, as I said, I believe this is in the right direction. And I hope that it's not going to be a meeting where people are at pains to poke holes in what government is doing. People should go in there with a positive mindset to contribute to finding a solution to this problem. I think that this government has shown that it wants to solve the problem, and thus far, I think all the things that we've been doing are in the right direction. I'm very impressed with the tracking of the excavators. Yeah. Very, very impressed. I think I think that we were here when excavators got missing, and and all that. So we've come a long way. So I think that people should go to the meeting in a spirit of they should be nationalistic in this matter, and go there to contribute their quota towards finding a lasting solution to a problem. I like one thing that my learned friend said, that this is not a one-shot solution matter. You will take steps, you will get some things wrong, you review, you change, and that is the planning process, planning and policy that we teach in schools. That's what happens. Yeah. You review, and then you go back and you take a look, and so I think on Friday we are hoping that those who have been invited to the meeting will go in the spirit of a Georgia spirit, and then eventually we hope, I know, that we'll solve this problem.
Okay. Beatrice, final word on the Galamsey issue.
Yeah, I think that a government that has claimed 9 red zone forests, which hitherto were no-go areas for past governments, is a government that is committed to fighting the menace. The government that says that all civil society, I want to hear you, I want to listen to perspective, and so let me engage you, not even at the ministerial level, but at the presidential level, demonstrates the president's commitment to solving the issue. A government that says that it doesn't care whose ox is gore, and that even when names are mentioned, you would be referred to the authority without interference. It's certainly a government that is committed to solving the Galamsey issue. A government that says that we recognize and we hear the feedback. We are listening, and we are saying that we are committed to doing this. Okay. A government that is telling the media that we hold us accountable. We don't posit to have all the knowledge. We want to do this with you. A government that is engaging the chiefs. And I would say that to my brother Doc here, the Minerals and Mining Act is currently undergoing review to be amended. Right. The LI would soon be repealed. Right. And many other things are being done. We recognize, this government, we have so much goodwill. We recognize that with the victory of a 1.7 million gap, that is practically people saying that this is a vote of confidence in you. And so we recognize the enormity of the situation. So far, it's only Galamsey that is something people are calling on government to do. All macroeconomic indicators are showing positive signs. A lot of things in the country are going well. And so no government wants to stain its goodwill and reputation with this. In any case, it doesn't benefit any precedent. to keep mute. So I want to tell the Ghanaian people that you are in the right hands. You are safe with President Mahama. President Mahama is a president who will not condone any bad thing. He is on record merely because you have a dream to make money, you'll be fired. So how much more to be engaging in, these things. So be rest assured, the NDC government is committed to making sure that we win the fight. And let's not be distracted by the naysayers or what Nanado described as Jeremiahs. Because the Jeremiahs were given the opportunity and they said they could not do it. Maybe Nehemiah should be given another opportunity. And so trust the process, and together we will come out victorious.
Okay. Doc, final word.
Yes, I'm glad that Beatrice has posited this morning that they are reviewing the Minerals and Mining Act 1703. I think it's a step in the right direction. We want to see further empowerment of the EPA together with the Water Resource Commission, and especially the Research Institute for Water under the CSIR, so that collectively you can support these erudites and scientists who are well endowed with environmental issues, and look at how best they can come with Ghanaian innovative solutions to be able to recuperate our water bodies and our environment. I believe that will be a step in the right direction.
All right. So let's see what will come out from the meeting on Friday. Let's switch to topic number 2 now. Let's talk about the opposition New Patriotic Party. It's a party that since December, when it was dealt with that embarrassing defeat, as some of you have called it, it does appear the reorganization is not going particularly too well. The latest is the fact that there's a statement that has been issued by the camp of Kennedy Ohene Japan. They're asking the party to sanction the Ashanti and Bono Regional Chairman for gross anti-party conduct. The Bono Regional Chairman, Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronye, we know him. He had a bit of a brush with the law too long ago. And also, Bernard Nchibu also had a bit of a brush with the law with regards to his company, Akwanta Mining, not too long ago as well. But those two individuals are heard in a video saying that, or suggesting possible voter register manipulation to benefit a particular candidate. And that is why the camp of Kennedy Japan are unhappy. The party has actually issued a statement distancing itself from the comments of these two individuals. But the camp of Kennedy Japan simply wants more to be done about it. And joining us for this part of the conversation, Dr. Samuel Ifrie is a political analyst, a very regular contributor on this discussion part of the show. Doc, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning to you and also your panelists and to your cherished viewers as well.
Doc, we are almost in December, almost a year since the election took place. And will one be fair to say that the NPP is not any better than it was in December if the outcome of the election was anything to go by?
Yes, you know, if I have to describe the NPP now, if I have to borrow the word from the mining issues that we are talking about, the turbidity, I think that the turbidity has even come down for the NPP, you know, because when they started, realized that the acrimonies were too much. But I think the party executives need to stand up, and I've been one of those that been speaking for against the party leadership for their inability to handle some of these issues at the earlier stages. So when it comes to some of these things, it becomes very difficult. If this chairman has made some statement or some kind of raising issues about how they can rig the elections, then it behoves on the party executives, as Ken Group has suggested, that they have to set up a disciplinary committee for these people. But at the earlier, you see, it comes from somewhere. If people have spoken against the party or make some contradictory or some comment or some statement that will affect the elections, that the impending elections in January, then it behoves on the national executive to be had. And I think yesterday we realized that the NDC has issued a statement about calling one of their MPs about some statement or comment that they have made on the taking toll by the executive. This is how party national executive should act. But you don't become selective. You don't become so, should I use the word, disingenuous in a way that you pick and select, and that is what makes the party national executive lack the inability or the capacity to handle some of these issues. If I know that it were to be the NDC, these two people have been called immediately for them to answer certain questions or maybe investigations be conducted. But the executive has not managed some of these things well. And when it comes to even some credence to some of these issues, then they tend to come up with statements, but lack the ability to handle or come up with investigative bodies to handle these things. And that is what is making the NPP. But I think I will commend them. The turbidity is getting down a little bit. I hope that it will get up very soon.
And Doc, there are those who would make the argument, and if you remember the pre-2016 NPP that we saw, I mean, they had to force out the national chairman, the vice chairman, also the general secretary as well. There are those who make the argument that it's basically because the party has lost power, and that is how come there's a bit of disunity, and that once they get the arrowhead, that's the flag bearer, he'll be able to whip the party back in line. Do you share that point?
Well, the national, that is the Council of Elders saw the need, maybe due to the confusion. And you see, the 2024 elections, the loss of the NPP has not happened to the party before. And it has created a lot of confusion, and then blaming each other for the loss. So we have to understand them from where they are coming in terms of not managing. And they have also lost a national figure or maybe a personality that can bring all of them together. That the party has lost that, except now they're trying to urge President Ford to come in sometime. But they don't have a national, let's say, personality that can handle some of these things. And that is what has been going on. So managing these differences and acrimonies is very, very, very difficult. And you know, the NPP, everybody knows that, everybody thinks that he or she is right. So it makes managing of these things very difficult. But you know, I think that they need to calm down and try to think back, and the division that resulted, I think Alan moving out has also affected the party. So if they don't manage this situation well, and any candidate tends to use any or some of these issues, it might also affect the party even more worse than what happens in 2024. So the NPP is in a strategic abyss, in meaning that they are not finding their feet in terms of how they can manage these kind of catastrophic defeat. And that is what is affecting the party. And it deserves some kind of personality to help them to able to stand on their feet. And I believe that, and I hope as the election becomes intense, they will not try to come out with a lot of issues that will affect the party. Okay. If not, I'm sorry, the party will find its wrong legs in 2028 elections.
Let me come to Beatrice in the studio now. And previously, when we had a similar discussion, I had asked Abraham Amaleba that you in the NDC, you have to be happy what is happening in the NPP. And he said that no. They actually want a strong opposition party. I mean, the NPP clearly is in disarray, if you can even put it that way in simple terms, in terms of what they are trying to do, even with the reorganization taking place.
I think to say they are even in disarray is a more euphemistic way of describing their situation. I think completely the NPP is dazed and shattered by the abysmal performance at the polls. And I say that we should not be surprised at what is happening. This is a micro reflection of what they subjected the country to. You have a government that, after COVID, practically lives and livelihoods have been destroyed. And I say this perhaps in the most emotional way, where the country was subjected to debt exchange. My friend lost their father because of the debt exchange after he was told how he was affected. So practically lives were lost. You had a government that did not build a single hospital at a time when citizens were dying. It was not their priority. Their priority was a procurement economy, paying over 60 million to a hospital in Adaklu where no citizen. I mean, these guys subjected the country to some of the things that I don't think we should even repeat them because it gets you very emotional. They sank millions of dollars in the cathedral hole. You had a government that had no elders to call the president and the government to order, and we had 126 ministers at the time when everybody said it's too much. Let's go back and go back to the drawing table. You had a government that nobody could practically tell Dr. Baumia the lies were too much on the campaign, and everybody was afraid. And we are saying what? We are surprised that the party is in so much abyss and disintegrating the way it is. There were no elders in the party. And like Dr. Free said, it would never happen in the NDC. You know, admittedly, we are all political parties. And every time you are going to an election, because people have factions, they sometimes say things that go overboard. It happens in all political parties the world over. So this would not have been something new, or it should not be something that would surprise us that people are making loose statements. And for the likes of Abronye and Chemawun, to me, I think that the NPP were the greatest beneficiaries of some of the loose statements they made. I am on record to have said that at my last count, Abronye has literally insulted President Mahama over 89 times. I haven't had time, but I intend to complete that research. Chairman Woon to me said very despicable things about the vice president, a woman, things you cannot even repeat on air. And they were beneficiaries. They hailed them. And today we are being told what? That all of a sudden, what? I think what Ghanaians should know, and this is not because we are in government or I'm a member of the NDC. I think the NPP have not got to the level where we must entrust the lives and destinies of people into their hands. I think collectively they lack that tact, emotional strategy, emotional intelligence, and the strategy that is needed to manage resources and the destinies of people. Look at what they are doing to their party internally. One would expect that because you have a very formidable opponent like the NDC, you have a political party like the NDC that has gone through almost every turbulent moment, even with their founder, emerged so strong, win an election with over 1.7 million, has a very formidable precedent. You go back to the drawing table. But what are they doing? Everybody wants to get close to power. Everybody wants to get close to the person who they anticipate may win power sometime in future so that they can amass resources when they come to power. Because if really and truly the aim of a political party is to rescue power, build a nation, where from all these things happening in the NPP? Okay. Why is it as if the world is coming to an end, as if they don't have lives beyond political party? Look at what they did. And you see, they have a certain checkered history. Look at what they did to Chairman Afoko and Kwabene Japan. They don't believe in democracy. They are not Democrats. Because he practiced democracy, they just put up an appearance of, we believe in democracy. Anytime it comes to their internal election, you see that there is an acid bath, or somebody dies, or, I mean, the NPP is in total shambles. Okay. And I would urge Ghanaians that maybe the NDC may not be perfect. The NDC may not give you everything. Maybe the NDC may really not reflect everything you believe in.
Okay.
But certainly, the NDC is the only political party in Ghana that has the people at heart. Maybe in recent times, movements for change is joining, and they are welcome. But the NDC is a political party that has the people at heart. The discussion when the NDC is in power is how do we build roads to link regions? How do we build universities? How do we build schools? How do we get young people and give? And I'm an example of what the NDC can do for young people. I'm just 35, and every time I'm about the only girl who can mention my age publicly. And anytime anytime I mention, people say that we are shocked. So the NDC is a political party that shows that they believe in preserving the wisdom of the old, building the capacity of young people, and also ultimately the developmental agenda on the agenda every time.
Right.
And so if you have an opportunity this morning, I want you to join me to make a decision that the NPP should never come close to our resources, because these guys can't even manage their internal affairs.
Okay. Let me come to Doc now. And some of you are sending messages, raising questions about the descriptions we gave to the NPP. Let me just read to you what the NPP's own General Secretary, how he described the party. This was just yesterday in an interview. He said that we cannot pretend the NPP is in a very difficult and delicate situation. We are all doing our best. As General Secretary, I must remain neutral, because if not, by the end of everything, there will be problems. And so that is how the General Secretary, who basically heads the party's institutional structure, has to say. And on the question of whether they should sanction or dismiss individuals, he says, it is not in my power to sanction or dismiss people from the party. Article 4 is the Constitution spells out the processes. My role is administrative, compiling the album and speaking as spokesperson, but there is a limit. So those are his words in terms of the current state of the party. The party, in trying to rebuild, they've extended an olive branch to elements like you. Doc says that you have left Movement for Change. I mean, a significant number of you left from the NPP fold. You have made the party weaker. They said the party says you should come back.
Well, Joseph, in a horse race, a jockey would prefer to ride on a very strong, lively horse than a dead horse, because you can never ride on a dead horse to victory. So that is my preamble, and it's food for thought. I've just carved it this way. Joseph, indeed, the party of Professor Edubwa Hene, the party of President Kufuor, and the many polling station executives and the grassroots people that toiled the length and breadth of this country to ensure the creation of the NPP with values of patriotism, truth, probity, accountability, and indeed with a vision of making Ghana a better place led by the private sector, is not what we see today in today's NPP. Today's NPP, for want of a better word, is acephalous. Yes, it is acephalous. If you look at what is happening today. And the reason why the NPP is in disarray is because of the crimes, or I would say the sins, of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And not only him, but many of those that knew the truth, many of them were quiet. Many of those so-called virtuous people, leaders, elders of the party, were quiet. And they saw what Akufo-Addo did to the party today. Today, the same people who are ranting about unity, the same people who are ranting about not treated fairly, were the same people that empowered Akufo-Addo and created the system that is hunting them today. And indeed, we Movement for Change would never take scripture lessons from a drinking bar. And I did say so because, Joseph, if you look at all indicators from 2000 to 2024, NPP has now become one of the most declining political parties. Indeed, its decline is very significant in the history of Ghana and in the history of our political landscape. if you look at the percentage of their support base within their strongholds today, from the year 2000 to 2024, they have lost significant chunk of their base. And it has declined to almost 39% from 45% in 2000. And so this data, it's really showing the ills and the crimes that they have perpetrated. Indeed, if you look at the golden era for business, the golden era for business in this country was under the era of President Kufuor, where he inherited a debt to GDP of over 118%. And when he was leaving office, the debt to GDP ratio was less than 36%. I hear the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, say that the NPP is going to bounce back based on his track record and the track record of President Kufuor. For his record, President Akufo-Addo, you have killed the track record of President Kufuor. He should understand that he has killed, he has dismantled the track record of President Kufuor. And that is why they have lost with this great margin. If you look at the management of the economy, we thought that the NPP should have been a better manager of the economy. And that is why today, the World Bank has brought a report, right, to vindicate us that the COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war was not the cause for Ghana's economic woes. And my brothers on the NDC, I do not know what they are doing, honestly speaking. Because the NPP needs a reset. Please, include them in your reset agenda. The NPP needs a big pool. Indeed, create a big pool, not a big push. They need a big pool because they are an abyss. And anybody that is an abyss, you don't push it, you pull him. Don't be so.
Maybe you're pushing them out.
No. Listen. You see, we don't want a situation whereby the NPP would die. No. We want them to realize the new party that is going to come up. A party that would reinvigorate the founding values of our founding fathers. Right? The Nkrumahs and all the founding fathers of this country that ensured that there was patriotism before party first agenda. Okay. That there was a system that ensured accountability, probity, and a system that promoted good governance. Today, I hear the likes of Wontumi ranting about and Abronye saying that they skewed the album in favor of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. This is what we suffered when we were in the NPP. Indeed, many more, but I'm not here to even, speak about that.
Okay.
Because we, as the English will say, you cannot cry over spilled milk. It is gone.
Okay.
That is why today, the people of Ghana are calling for us to reinvigorate the political landscape and create a dominant political force.
Okay.
And as you can see, today on this national platform, where is the so-called largest opposition party in this country?
Okay.
They are not here. And so who is really the real opposition in Ghana today? It is a movement for change. Whether you like it or not, Joseph, we are the real opposition in this country today.
Okay.
On this large platform today, talking about national issues, Galamsey. Indeed, they cannot even talk about Galamsey because they've seen what they've done to this country and its environment. Okay. And so what I can say is that, Joseph, the amnesty that they gave us is much ado about nothing. It's just a political agenda. They heard that we're going to create a political party. That is why they quickly scribbled something out and said that, oh, come. How can you ride on a dead horse? When the horse was lively, you didn't ask us to come and ride with you. Now that the horse is dead, you want us to come and ride with you.
Okay.
And indeed, Joseph, if it neighs like a horse, if it walks like a horse, if it trots like a horse, and if it gallops like a horse, is what? It is a horse.
I thought you were going to put some dead in there and ask that it should be a dead horse. Doc, I'll give you the final word. I mean, there are those who say that, we are making a meal out of it because they say that parties go through this process. It's just a cycle.
Yes, yesterday I met a colleague in court and we were talking about these issues. And he says to me, why are we bothered about what is happening in the NPP, within the NPP? You know, they are doing to themselves what they did to us for 8 years. policies that just don't make sense. When you have a divided party, coming from the last election, why would you want to front load your system and elect a flag bearer and impose? What is going on? You see, my friend said yesterday that what we have within the NPP are not national executives, we have kingmakers. And, speaking as a traditional ruler, I tell you what, when you have kingmakers, you have disputes, chieftaincy disputes all the time. So they are doing to themselves really what we suffered under them all this time. The cracks are there. We know that the cracks are there. But instead of seeing things that help to heal those cracks, the cracks are getting deeper and deeper and deeper. You see, when you have certain people who call themselves chairmen, I sit and think, and NPP, what does it take to become a chairman?
Solid money.
So I think they have to do a lot of introspection. They have to. I mean, we don't want to have an opposition party that is moribund. So let us hope that they will get their act together and provide the opposition that the constitution of this country envisages.
Doc asks a very important question. What does it take to become a chairman? Indeed, we've learned that it takes solid money. That at a particular point in time, Chairman Wontumi, right, at the midst of all this Galamsey issue, was brandishing gold bars on a live television against the sentiment of the people of Ghana. The current executives of the NPP and the previous ones, together with President Akufo-Addo, had created a system called a kakistocracy. That those that were knowledgeable did not man very important positions within the party and even in government. And it was those that could be puppeted and be controlled by just a stroke of a pen by the executive were those that were empowered in the NPP. That is why people like the likes of Abronye is a chairman of the NPP, a regional chairman. People like Wontumi is a regional chairman. And I hear he's coming to be the national chairman. God knows what will happen next.
I think, Doc, you remember we discussed it the other time. Okay, so that is it by way of our discussion this morning. My guests have been Dr. Ramsey Nusa, Director, Political Research Movement for Change. Doc was next to me. Also joined by Dr. Josiah Koba. Doc is a legal practitioner, a former principal lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. Beatrice Anand, the young Beatrice Anand. But the camera should take it. Yes, the young. The very young.
I'm very
but I must say that I've been really flattered by the age she gave. I don't know whether it's football age, but she looks way younger than that.
And
Joseph, lastly, we need to congratulate UDS.
Yes.
They have really made us proud.
We are so proud.
As Ghanaians.
So it should tell you, I mean, the NDC established the UDS. And we should be proud of them. Yes.
Anyways.
And Dr. Samuel Efri also joined us on Zoom as well. Thank you all for joining us this morning.